Hey guys, excuse my lighting, I just wanted to get this intro out really quickly. I went to edit this video and I realized I didn't have an intro. So I decided to just sit down really quickly and just tell you guys what you're about to watch, even though you know by the title. Obviously I wasn't planning on filming today, clearly. But today's video is going to be my eyeshadow palette collection. Now, unfortunately, if I were going to show you every single palette I owned, the video would be way too long. So I am going to break this video up into two parts. This is part one because I have two drawers full of eyeshadow palettes. And then I have kind of like a shelf full of my really large palettes. So today we're going to be tackling my really big palettes and then one of my eyeshadow palette drawers, if that makes any sense. But most of my drugstore palettes are stored in the smaller palette drawer because most drugstore palettes are not very big. So you will definitely be seeing more drugstore palettes in part two. So definitely let me know at the end of this video if it's something you even want to see. Also, I completely forgot to mention my Colored Rain Queen of Hearts palette in this video because I had it here on my vanity. So I realized I just didn't talk about it at all. But know that I do have it. I haven't even used it yet because I just bought it. But I'm pretty sure it's already sold out, so that sucks. But anyway, I wanted to mention that really quickly just in case you see my palette and you're like, hey, what happened to the Queen of Hearts palette you said you bought? Porter's playing with a dog toy and it's driving me nuts. But anyway, if you want to see my eyeshadow palette collection, at least some of it, then just keep watching. Okay, so I keep most of my makeup in these Alex drawers right here. I actually have another one right next to it. These are the Alex drawers from IKEA. These have the 6 drawers. They have another one that's much taller that has 9 drawers, I believe. And I keep both of them side by side just sitting on the floor. They're a little bit short, so it kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really work. I'm still trying to figure out the best possible way to store my makeup because if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm kind of over these drawers. But at the same time, they just store makeup so well. I'm kind of torn. I don't know what to do. But anyway, for the meantime, this is where I keep most of my makeup. I'm drinking coffee. So I keep my eyeshadow palettes in these 2 drawers right here. This one, I know I have like a ridiculous amount of palettes, and this one. If you're wondering, in these other drawers, in the first one, I keep these Natasha Denona 5 eyeshadow palettes. But I'm not going to go through these because I think I want to do a video dedicated to these, like swatches and stuff. Let me know. Then I keep my pigments. Here I keep all of my single eyeshadows. These 2 are the palettes, and then here I keep all of my falsies. And at the bottom it's my backup drawer, which I don't even want to open. It's like really bad. Okay, so let's do the bottom eyeshadow drawer first. This is where I keep all of my larger eyeshadow palettes. I keep my smaller eyeshadow palettes like this in this drawer, but my larger ones are here. I have the Balm Meet Matrimony palette. It's just an eyeshadow palette that has a ton of matte shades. It just goes with so many different eye looks. It is so useful. You have a very light matte cream color for your brow bone. You have a black, transition shades, cooler shades, purple, a red. It has everything. Really great palette. The Balm has awesome quality eyeshadows. This is the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty palette. I have used this so much, it's like kind of ugly. All of these eyeshadows are matte, but you have this shade right here that's like a really pretty shimmer shade. And it pairs so nicely with all of the matte colors. And the best part is that these are not just flat matte shades. They're not your typical matte shadows. They kind of have a satin finish, and it makes it really flattering on the eyelids because they're not chalky or powdery. They're so creamy and so easy to blend. I feel like this palette is really, really underrated. I have these 4 Zoeva palettes. This one is their taupe palette. I'm not sure if it was limited edition or not, but it's full of taupes and pinky purple gray shades. I don't typically wear shadows like this, but that is why I keep this palette on hand because even though I don't really use it that much, whenever I want to do a cool tone look and include some grays and silvers, I go to this palette. My favorite Zoeva eyeshadow palette is actually this one. This is the Cocoa Blend palette. You've seen me use this a few times on my channel. Fun fact, this shade called Pure Ganache is what inspired me to add the gold in my Morphe palette. My Morphe palette collab is actually sitting on my vanity. I have it like on my desk. I don't have it in this drawer because I use it so much that I just keep it on my vanity. I love this palette. It has everything I need. It has like chocolate shades, light shades. It's just all around a really great palette. I love the color selection. This one is called Caramel Melange and I love it as well. This one is actually newer to my collection. I haven't really used it on my eyes, but this color right here called Liquid Center, oh my gosh, look at that. Look at that. It's incredible. And then this one is called Blanc Fusion. I haven't used this one yet either. It's pretty new, but I like it because all of these at the bottom are mattes, and they're matte shades that you could use every day. All Zoeva eyeshadows are amazing across the board. I have the Violet Voss Pro eyeshadow palette. They updated their packaging. Now it has like this almost holographic rainbow look to it. This is a great eyeshadow. It has all the colors you could possibly need for a very warm smoky eye. Those are just colors that I personally love to wear. I also have the Laura Lee palette, but I actually lent that one to my mom, so I don't have it right now. The Laura Lee palette is actually amazing as well. Kat Von D Shade and Light eyeshadow palette, another classic. I feel like when this palette first came out, I got a lot of hype on YouTube, and it's really good. It has a ton of different shades. Like, this is the only matte eyeshadow palette you could ever need, but the only issue I have with this palette is that they are too pigmented almost. I know that sounds crazy, but they are so pigmented that you have to spend a lot of time blending them. They do have a lot of kick up, but it's still an amazing eyeshadow palette. I just wouldn't recommend this for a beginner. Someone just starting out with makeup might not love this palette. This is actually a palette I created myself on the Sugar Pill website. I went on their website and I bought this Sugar Pill Pro palette, and then I just created this palette. They have a ton of different shades for you to choose from. I just popped them right into this palette. Sugar Pill has amazing quality eyeshadows. This is another palette that's a little bit newer to me. I just recently got this. This is the Urban Decay After Dark eyeshadow palette. It's one of those palettes that you cannot create a full look just using this palette. It's definitely one of those that you have to mix in with something else. They're all jewel toned, very beautiful shadows. The same kind of goes for the Urban Decay Electric palette. Now, this one is one of my favorite palettes in the entire world. I'm obsessed with the packaging of this palette. It's so beautiful. And I love the colors. This palette just takes me back to when I first started my YouTube channel. I remember I got so excited when I bought this, and I used it so much. But like I said, it's just one of those palettes that you can go to if you need a pop of color. And the same kind of goes for the Moon Dust palette. Also by Urban Decay. If you are familiar with their Moon Dust single shadows, they pretty much put a bunch of them in one palette. I love them. They're just like glitter top coats. They apply best with either Fix Plus, a mixing medium, or a glitter glue, because they're really just like glittery top coats. I don't know. They're so beautiful though. I love this palette. I don't need to say anything about the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette because I've spoken about it literally a million times. I've used this non-stop. Mine is super dirty. I'm obsessed with this palette. It was in my 2016 favorites. And then here I have some Naked palettes. I have the original Naked palette, which is my favorite. It's full of beautiful warm shades. This one's actually a brand new one because I completely destroyed my original one. This one is the Naked 2. I had decluttered mine originally, but then they sent it to me again with this really cool design on it, so I wanted to keep it because I thought it looked really cool. But if I'm gonna be completely honest, out of all the Naked palettes, this is the one I like the least. And then of course the Naked 3. This also reminds me of when I first started my channel. This one is full of really beautiful rosy tones. I did use this a ton when I first got it, and I still like it. Whenever I want a really romantic pink eye, my mind immediately goes to this palette, so I keep it on hand because I use it every once in a while. I really like it. Okay, so back here I keep all of my Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes. These are the best eyeshadows I've ever used in my entire life. In my entire life, I'm just gonna say it, Natasha Denona makes the best eyeshadows in my personal opinion. Now, with that being said, they are ridiculously priced. They are extremely pricey. I don't really remember the name of this one. It doesn't really say it on the packaging. I don't love Natasha Denona's packaging, if I'm gonna be honest, but I can't take away how good the quality of these eyeshadows are. I mean, they're amazing. This one is the Star palette. It has like stars all over it. My lighting is like kind of washing these palettes out. This one actually says the name. It's one of her newer eyeshadow palettes, and this is what it looks like. I just hate this little like insert. I don't know. I prefer the names to be on the packaging, but anyway, like I said, the quality of this is unreal. Like, look at that. Oh my gosh, let me just show you this. Like, look at that. Like, look at that. That was a terrible swatch. Wow. The only eyeshadow that bugs me in this palette is this one because it's just pure glitter, and I find that it just gets everywhere. But besides that, really amazing quality. And these, I have to say, are the best of the best. These two palettes right here, you get the, I think this one is the blue palette or the blue purple palette. And then the other one is like the brown green palette. I don't know. I could be making that up. I've never seen an eyeshadow palette with this high of a price tag. If you're willing to splurge or put this on your Christmas list or on your birthday list, I do personally think it's worth it because, I mean, like I said, these eyeshadows are unreal. I've never ever felt anything like this in my entire life. Amazing. And then this one is the other one I was talking about. This one is my favorite. I like it more than the other one. It's just this one has more wearable colors. Beautiful, really rich eyeshadows, incredible formula. I mean, like, really? Have you seen anything so crazy before? Like I said, it definitely has a luxury price tag, and there are a ton of other eyeshadows on the market that you can get that are really amazing quality, but I can't lie and pretend that this sucks because it's amazing. I have the Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette right here, and then the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. This Chocolate Bonbons one is really, really nice, but if I'm gonna be honest, you know what? I'm gonna give this away. This isn't a declutter, but I don't really touch it. I used it at first a lot, but I always reach for my chocolate bar palette, which is not in this video because it's sitting on my vanity along with my Morphe palette, because those are the two palettes I use non-stop. The original chocolate bar is just so much better than this in my opinion. So you know what? I'm gonna give this to my mom. The Sweet Peach palette, that's a different story. This one is amazing. I love it because it just has all the warm shades you guys know I love. It smells like Runts candy, and I really like it. The Tartelette in Bloom is one of my favorite palettes of all time. I used it so much this year, but this bronze shade is beautiful. I love the color selection because it's a natural palette, but you can still get a really smoky look because of these darker shades. I don't like the original Tartelette palette. I think the quality isn't as good as this one. This one I really like. Dose of Colors came out with a palette called Hidden Treasures, and it is unreal. I feel like it's so underrated. Is this even available anymore? I'm not sure. I hope it wasn't limited edition because it's so cool. I don't like the layout of this palette because all these eyeshadows look scattered and weird, and I feel like they could have added more shades into this palette if they would have just put them like this. Like, you could have gotten double the eyeshadows. I get it, it's cool, it's different, it's not the typical palette, and they wanted to do something unique. It just takes up space for me, I don't know. But really good quality, very pigmented. This is the Lorac Pro palette. I keep this just in case I want to do like a throwback tutorial or something like that, because this used to be so raved about, and I feel like it's kind of lost in the dust. There's so many other palettes out there on the market that I just really don't use this that much anymore at all, actually. I'm not gonna lie. I rather use my Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette, but it was still really good when it first came out, and I love how sleek it is and compact. This is my favorite Lorac palette though. This is the Unzipped palette. I love the rosy tones in this palette. I feel like it's so underrated. No one talks about this palette, but it's so good. You have all these beautiful rosy romantic shades, and I really like the quality. The Master palette by Mario. This was limited edition from Anastasia. And at first when I got this palette, I was like, you know what? This is gonna be like too basic, too boring. I have so many shadows that look like this, but it's actually really nice quality, and the colors just blend so nicely together. Each color works so well with all of the colors in here. Like, you can get a beautiful look with these shadows. This is a palette by Ciate London, and it's their collab with Chloe Morello. It's their Pretty Fun and Fearless palette. I haven't used this palette enough. I've only used it once, but the one time I used it, I loved it. I think the shadows are so good. The mattes blend so nicely into each other. I really like it. Shine Bright is a really beautiful gold, and I really like Chloe Morello a lot. This next one is the Urban Decay Naked Ultimate Basics palette. It's full of a ton of matte shades, pretty much all the ones you're ever gonna need. Transition shades running from warm to cool. And I like the packaging. I love how it has a really large mirror, so I keep it for that. I don't use it as much as I use my other matte palettes, but I really like it. These two palettes are from Makeup Revolution. I got these on the Ulta website. These are very inexpensive. This one is just full of a ton of shimmers, and then this one is just full of mattes. I haven't really used these that much yet. I just recently got them. I haven't really put them to the test. They seem really good quality. I really like Makeup Revolution. They dupe a lot of high-end makeup for an affordable price. This is the BH Cosmetics Carly Bible palette. This palette was limited edition, and I think it's finally leaving. I'm not sure if it's still available on Ulta or not, but I'm so sad, because this palette is so good, especially for the price. You get a ton of eyeshadows and face highlights as well that you can use as eyeshadows. It's such a good quality palette, and the price is right. Really good. Congrats, Carly. I love this. Oh, here it is. I guess my mom gave it back. No, I gave my mom the new one. They just updated their packaging, and I gave my mom that new one. Anyway, this is the Laura Lee palette with Violet Voss. Full of really beautiful colors. I love that you get so many colors in one palette, and it's so sleek and compact. Good stuff. And then these two are from Juvia's Place. This one is the Original Nubian palette. It's full of really beautiful warm shades. I actually haven't used this palette all that much. I don't know why, because it's full of colors I love. This actually would be considered a small palette. I should have it up there, but I keep it with the other one. Really good stuff. And then this one is the Nubian 2. Really beautiful shades. This brand is so beautiful. You get a ton of really amazing high quality eyeshadows, and it's so affordable. I also have the Masquerade palette, which is probably my favorite one out of all of them, but I keep it separate. I keep it with my really large palettes that I'm going to show you in a second. So because I'm going to show you the rest of my larger palettes, I know going through this drawer is just going to be like, it's going to be way too much. So let me know if you want to see a part 2 to my eyeshadow collection. I'll probably talk about it a little bit more in the intro, but please let me know in the comments below. Okay, excuse the really crappy lighting in this area. So I'm in a different part of my room. And here on the floor is where I keep all of my large palettes. These shelves are actually like these shelves right here. They're floating shelves from the Container Store. I don't recommend them unless you're putting something that doesn't weigh a lot on them, because they will start to bend and lean forward, kind of like this one is right now. As you can see, it's supposed to be like this, but it's like this. I have a situation going on in my beauty room, which is why I haven't done a beauty room tour. They're still wrapped in their packaging, but for right now, they're just sitting here until I return them, and I have my palettes just sitting on top of these shelves. Super professional. This is not very organized, but anyway, I wanted to show you my other palettes because I do have a bunch over here, and this is an eyeshadow palette collection. So I'm not going to talk about these because these are all Z palettes. They're full of a ton of different eyeshadows. Like, I have so many. So I'm not going to go through each and every one of them, but all of these are Z palettes. This one is full of Makeup Forever eyeshadows. It's in the Makeup Forever tin. But then the rest of these are palettes. They're just so big that it's hard to store in my Alex drawer. Well, these are actually not so big. These are two from Morphe. These just recently released, but I think they're out of stock. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't even played around with these yet. So this palette is actually from J Cat Beauty. It's their Sunset Boulevard 24 eyeshadow palette. I bought this on the Ulta website. This is what the palette looks like. It reminds me a lot of the Morphe shadows, and they're really, really good. I forgot how much I paid for this on Ulta, but like, look at this. Like, so creamy, so good. And like I said, the palette was super affordable. I haven't tried any of the mattes. I've only swatched them a bit, and they feel really nice. Like, they feel like good quality. I have to play around with this eyeshadow palette a little bit more. This is the Masquerade palette by Juvia's Place. I am so mad at myself that I didn't include this in my yearly favorites video, because this is definitely one of my favorite palettes from 2016. I used it so much, which is weird because it has so many crazy colors, but this section right here, I used it non-stop. It's an amazing, amazing eyeshadow palette for a really great price. This is the Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca palette. It's a stunning eyeshadow palette with a ton of colorful shadows. It's mostly matte, but it does have a few shimmers thrown in there. I love this palette so much because you get like a color wheel of every single color you will possibly need in your entire life. Plus, this little wheel on the inside is such a wearable color selection. I don't understand why this was limited edition. Please, Kat Von D, bring this back. It is so good. This is also a Z palette, but it has Makeup Geek blushes. And then these back here are all of my Morphe palettes. This is the 35K. It's a really stunning palette that has a ton of neutral shadows. Really amazing for every day because you get a few like shimmers thrown in there. Really good stuff. This one is the 35T palette, which is another favorite of mine. I love the 35O a little bit more, or a lot bit more. But there was a point where I was using this non-stop. I have a tutorial using this palette. Such a beautiful mauve, purpley tone palette. This one is the 35OM, and I actually have never even touched this palette. I think I've swatched like 2 eyeshadows, but I haven't used it yet because if I'm going to be completely honest, I use the 35O the most. I just use my 35O way more than this because this is all matte and then the 35OS is all shimmer, but the 35O has both mattes and shimmer. And don't get me wrong, this is way more versatile. Like, you can get this one and the 35OS and you'd be set. But personally for me, since I got the 35O first, I don't really reach for this. Just like this one. This is the 35OS, and I've only used like 4 shades in this palette, which I mean, it's fine. Don't get me wrong. It's completely shimmers, so it's not like you're gonna do an entire look just with this. But it's nice to have on hand, you know, a palette full of shimmers. But this guy is my baby. I love this palette. I use it so much. This is the 35O. This is awesome because you get a ton of matte. The majority of this is matte, but then you get those pops of shimmer throughout the palette. Really, really amazing if you love a warm eyeshadow palette. The regular 35O is what I recommend over the 35OM and the 35OS. And then the last Morphe palette I have is the 35F palette. This one is really cool because you just get this tiny little row of mattes and the rest are shimmers. But the mattes are awesome because they're really nice transition shades, and then you get like your deeper shades. This is a black. I don't use this palette that much. I've only used it twice, but it is really good quality. Like, look at this eyeshadow. It's so intense. Can you believe that? Look at that. One little freaking swipe. The last palette I have back here is the Metal Matte palette by by Kat Von D. This is what it looks like on the inside. I also haven't really used this palette. This is a beautiful face highlight, by the way. Oh my gosh, like it looks so nice. The mattes are really nice, and I like the fact that it's mostly mattes, but you do get your pops of shimmer in there. It's just very big. Like it's a very large, bulky palette, but it's nice. It is a mission to open. Finally. I'm. Give me that. I'm sorry. Go over there. I can't. Ugh, that's dirty.